Today is June 16th, 2025. Thank you for coming to today's Community Advisory Committee meeting. We apologize for the late start, dealing with some technical issues, but hopefully everything has been resolved. My name is Lori Day. I'm one of the NYCHA monitors, deputy monitors. We're here at NYCHA's offices at 90 Church Street. This meeting is also being recorded and live streamed, and we'll post the video recording on the monitor's website at www.nychamonitor.com. There is an attendance sheet floating around. I think it's right over there. So please sign in, and we will post the list of attendees on our website. Two very quick announcements, and then we'll jump in. So first, I want to welcome, of course, our resident members who are here today, Mr. Hall and Mr. Martinez. Thank you for joining us. I also want to say thank you to a few other residents who are here with us today. Ms. Lino and Ms. Glover, we're very happy to have you here. The monitor's June report will be out very shortly, so please keep an eye out. It will be available on the monitor's website at www.nychamonitors.com/reports, where all of the monitor's reports are available for review. We have a very busy agenda today, so let me move to that. First, we will start with a presentation from NYCHA on the call center, which is an issue we've heard about several times from stakeholders. This presentation will be presented by Bill Rita, who is the new director of NYCHA's Customer Contact Center. Second, we'll have a presentation from NYCHA concerning fire safety, in which NYCHA will discuss efforts to reduce dependence on fire guards, as well as fire safety education for residents. This will be presented by Joseph Terranova and Lauren Gray. And third, we'll have some time for safety and security with Chief Secreto, and if there are any issues any committee member wants to raise, in addition to any other issues, time permitting. So with that, we'll turn to Mr. Rita.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. This is my first meeting, so happy to share an update on current status of the CCC. Let's get my
You have to bring up the slide set, please.
okay. How's this? Better? I have the clicker, but it's not, and it's not on my page.
What are you trying to do, sir?
Join slide set.
Advance the slides?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to my slide. This is the fire safety act.
Okay, we'll go to the other one.
Thank you.
We are working on pulling up the slide deck.
slide deck, it'll 7 to 10 minutes done. While you guys figure this out.
Yes.
Yes.
Why don't we do that? Can you bring up the slides again, please?
If they, yeah.
Back to the customer care center.
Apologies to everyone, and thank you for your patience as we go through this.
Take two?
Go ahead, Mr.
Take
Rubio.
two?
Yeah,
Okay,
take two.
all right. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm the director of the Customer Contact Center. I'm here to present an update on the CCC. Quick look at the agenda. I'm going to introduce myself along with my the deputy and the assistant. A little background, budget, staffing, and training. Calling the CCC, 2025 metrics. Trends over time, 2024 versus 2023-5. Call flow overview, NYCHA, and then numbers for reference and Q&A. So my name is Bill Rita. I'm the Customer Contact Center Director at NYCHA. I started in the position in January of 2025, so here a little bit over 5 months. I do have over 15 years experience working in city call centers. Most recently, New York City's 311, where I held 3 director positions in that organization, and I'm a native New Yorker. My deputy director of the CCC is Donisha Ellis. I'm very lucky to have both of them. They have extensive experience of working with NYCHA. So we hit it off right away, learning from my experience and their experience and making some good progress in the CCC. Robin Singletary is my assistant director. Again, she has 20 years of housing assistance experience and has worked for the CCC for over 12 years. She primarily oversees the walk-in center operation in Brooklyn and in the Bronx. Advance it one, please. Thank you. So a little background on the CCC. We just celebrated 20 years of customer service, April of 2025. Like a lot of call centers they start off as a pilot program to streamline a customer experience and centralize and standardize operations. It grew out of developments in Staten Island to the operation which it is today, and we'll talk in more detail. The mission of the CCC is very simple, is to provide a single point of contact to NYCHA public housing residents, Section 8 voucher holders, landlords, and applicants. Primary focus, I always tell my staff, we're in the business of 2 things, top customer service and accurate information. So those are the 2 focus points that we have in the CCC. The size of the CCC is the 3rd largest call center in the municipal call center in the city, just behind 311 being the largest, and HRA's info line being the 2nd, NYCHA's 3rd, position 3rd. We're a 24-hour, 24/7 operation, and as I stated earlier, we serve public housing tenants, Section 8 voucher holders, and landlords, and public housing and Section 8 applicants. Advance. Thank you. So the CCC budget is just a little under $20 million. It's sourced from two funding sources, Section 8 with $10.2 million, and public housing in Section 9 at $9.5 million. Total staff, budgeted staff is 163, where 65 come from leased housing, 53 from the walk-in center, and I added is 45 from the walk-in center and 53 for maintenance, for the maintenance side of the call center. We have a temporary staff that helps us flex staff based on call volume fluctuations, which we'll see in a minute. We run between 20 and 30 temps at any one time. Today, I looked, as of today, we have 26 temps taking calls. Training for a rep is 4 weeks, which includes 1 week of shadow calling. This is when the new representative gets on the phones and sits next to an experienced representative to show them the ropes. Thank you. So calling the CCC, residents can call the 718-707-7771 number or use the MyNYCHA app to basically put in work order tickets. During heat season, which we'll see the data in a minute, is very popular. Sometimes we get a lot of calls on that depending on the weather. So we will take heat and hot water issues, even if it's excessive heat. We continue to take those. Emergency repairs in apartments and public spaces. You can schedule general apartment repair appointments and get information about applications. This is a tip that I share with everyone. I've been in the call center business for a long time. This tip doesn't just apply to the CCC, but any call center you experience in your life. Monday mornings are you'll experience the longest wait time. This is just how humans operate. They have a weekend and save everything for Monday morning at 10 o'clock. So you'll have the highest call volumes at that time. As the day progresses and as the week progresses, Friday, you guessed it, at 3 p.m. is the least amount of activity that a call center would have. So if you can wait, call later in the week, midweek, later in the week, or later in the day. But if there's an emergency, of course, stay on the line and we'll take care of you as soon as we can. So when making a maintenance request, it's always good to have some basic information, the who, what, where, when of the issue accessible or ready to share with the representative for quick intake to have a more speedy call experience. Next slide, please. Okay, let's look at some call volume. This is 2025. This is looking, of course, from January 1st to the end of May. So on the left-hand side, you see this is call volume per month. As you can see very clearly, on the left side, this is all maintenance issues, which include heat, and I break out heat and hot water so we can see the impact of what it has on the day-to-day and the monthly impact. So January, very cold month. We saw 112,000 calls in overall for maintenance. February, we see a dip, right? So immediately you know that we had a very mild winter and there wasn't many heat-related issues over that month. But March, if you remember, in the beginning, the first two weeks of March, which I remember, were very cold. We had a cold spike, so that raised call volume once again. And then as April and May, we see a decline in the overall call volume, mostly propped up by heat and hot water calls. So on the right side of the slide, you'll see the heat and hot water calls pulled out of the data, and that trends with the general maintenance calls from January to May. So that's what I've done. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to get into wait time, speed of answer. The metric we're using here is called the average speed of answer. This looks at all the contacts in a particular day and averages out how long a resident had to wait to be served by a representative. As you see in January, which we had that much higher call volume, the wait times are going to be a little bit higher, which is 3 seconds under 8 minutes for January. And then as the weather got warmer and the call volume increased, we see the wait times just go down. So you see February, March, April, and May being the 4 minutes and 2 seconds on average for the month. And as I looked for the month of June, we have wait times even going down even more because the weather is at a very sweet spot of not too hot and not too cold and not too hot. So at the left, it was just under 2 minutes wait time to speak to a representative. On the right-hand side is average, it's called average call handling time, AHT. This is a very important metric to measure in a call center to understand how long a call interaction is. As you see, January, February, March, and April, everything comes in around 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and then you see a 15-minute increase in May. So you may say, well, why did your calls, the average handle time go up? There's a very simple answer for this, is that key calls are very easy to take, which is a good thing. That means, you're less time on the phone with a representative. So when you take out the shorter calls, the average handle time per call is going to go up to 45. So this is where that number should be, 45. If it creeps up more than that, that means something is happening and that we need to take a look at. But everything seems to be running as the data shows. Next slide, please. So this is trends over time, 2024, January to May, looked against January to May in 2025. You see on the left-hand chart shows 2024 as 124,000 average calls for the month versus 94,000 calls average for the month in 2025. This is about a 24% difference. This is mainly because 2024 January to May, the CCC went through some staffing constraints that increased the wait times and required residents to call more than once. So it increased the call volume because more people, the wait times were longer, and so people didn't wait for the long wait time to hang up and try during the day. So that is the why we have that increase. 94,000. This number is going to change again as the months go by. It's good to see a call center go through its entire 12-month cycle. Again, I've only been here for 5 months, so things are trending well in the case of call volume and wait time. So that is good to see. On the right-hand side is customer satisfaction for the same time period, January through May 2024 versus 2025. And no surprise, in 2024, when you had longer wait times, satisfaction score was not very good. It was 81.5. Today we're running a 94.1. So how can we improve the customer experience? This is what my job is, and to work with my leadership that I work with to make the experience calling the CCC not only reduce wait times but make it a better experience. So retaining staff and hiring more staff always is helpful. And when you retain staff, you retain knowledge, and knowledge is very important in the CCC business. We have a wealth of knowledge, which when I started in January, I'm very, very happy to see very dedicated work staff at the CCC. Again, a call center doesn't run without technology, and technology improves all the time. So leveraging technology to enable the customer experience, an option to request so an agent can be dedicated to more complex requests. So we're working on a way to have an interactive but really guided and customer-friendly experience of doing intake on some of the simple maintenance requests that we can do, and then have the staff handle more complex things. And then improve ease of access to information for agents handling calls. Agents, again, as I said earlier, information and customer service is what we focus on. So if the agents have all the right information accessible at their fingertips, the call will go a lot smoother, a lot quicker, and we standardize throughout the call experience. call flow. It looks a little bit busy, but this is a general setup of a really busy call center that has to separate calls that have different routing paths for different reps to take different types of calls. So if you dial the 7771 number, you'll hear if it's an emergency, hang up and dial 911. That is the standard message that non-emergency call centers have at the beginning of their call flow. You get to select the English, the language that you'd like to speak in. English is number one, and then you get presented the call queues, which they're called. If you hit 1 for maintenance, you'll go right into the maintenance queue. Before I came here, I timed how fast it was when you dialed 7771 to get to that one maintenance repair, and it was under 15 seconds, which is a very good time. Once you're in the maintenance queue, we have 3 choices. We prioritize elevators and heat and hot water. So 1 for elevators, 2 for heat and hot water, and then 3, you get presented to a self-service option, which you can put in your own information and not speak to a rep, and have it a work order ticket created just exactly the way it would be if a rep handled it. But if you don't want to do that, that is fine. There's an option to speak to an agent at the end of the menu. Next slide. So an addendum to a contact center is a mobile app and a website. So if you haven't downloaded the NYCHA app, I urge you to do so. There's no wait times when you deal with an app. They take, I haven't done a one-to-one comparison, but from my understanding, they virtually take every single complaint that they do take if you call the CCC. So that's a very useful tool to have for NYCHA. Next slide. So this is the end of the presentation. I'll take questions after this, but of course, numbers for reference. If you need to ever call the CCC, please do 718-707-7771. Maintenance calls are handled 24/7, 365 days a year. Leased housing in Section 8 applications for tenancy are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Now, neighborhood planners can be contacted directly. Normally, they are available on the repair schedule slip to call directly. But if you happen to not have that available or need some assistance, please call the CCC, and we're able to get the right neighborhood planner number to you so you can contact directly. And that's all I had, and I will happy to take questions. Yes?
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Bill Rita.
Bill Rita. Okay. You want the good news first or the bad news? The good
Give it
news,
all.
Bill Rita, is that CCC has improved. I've noticed the improvement for about a year or more. I call. The thing I don't like about it is you gotta put your birth date, your social security, part of your social security number, press this for English, it's a lot. And so there's a lot of residents who, I don't know why they stay in this country this long and don't know English, but that's their business. Okay, so there's a lot that you gotta get to where you wanna go. Even though it says, for water, for English, for maintenance, is usually what we press, right? For maintenance. Then it says, for heat and hot water, for this, that, and the third, and all those kind of things. So I usually wait till 6 and all of that. A lot of times don't have the patience. But I do know that it has improved. The receptionists are very polite. My time frame when I call is very good. That bloody neighborhood planner, it's a negative. It's not good. I don't see why housing for specialties, like if your sinks is a mess and you need a new sink and all this kind of thing here. They tell us, well, years ago, they would have to contract out in New York and all this kind of thing here, and bring them in and all that. So now they're telling us that the neighborhood planners are on site at the developments. I don't know what time of day you need to call, because I can call when the rooster crows. You don't get nobody. You call at 3 o'clock, you never get a person. The maintenance people come, because once you put the ticket in, the maintenance people come. I don't know, that it is so barbaric that they have to come to see what the problem is, then go back to the office, get the tools and come. That's a lot of work on those people, number one. But you never get the neighborhood planner. You can call from 8:30 on, you get nobody. You leave a message, no answer, they never get back to you. So it's really a mess. That neighborhood plan is where you need to start, because it's ridiculous. I'm sure there's something else I wanted to say, but I can't think of it right now.
I have a question for you. Hi, I'm Lauren Gray. I'm Senior Vice President for Quality Assurance, Safety, and Technical Programs. So my quality assurance unit could follow up. What development do you live in?
The horrible Washington houses. You really need to go through vests over there. You need to wear full armor. It's despicable. It could be worse, but it's bad enough.
And what is your name?
Crystal
Glover or Clover?
Glover. That's G and Lover.
Yes, G Lover. Got it.
Yeah, Mr. G.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's everything. Customer, tenant associations could be presenting monthly. There's so much work that needs to be done. But CCC, oh, thank you, Lord. The stair climber, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm a former TA president, so everything I find out about NYCHA, I find out through the grapevine, okay, because they never tell you anything. That stair climber, from what I understand, is one in every borough. For those who don't know what a stair climber is, it connects to the stair so that it can take people up and down the stairs. Last time I called, they came in 30 minutes. I says, maybe my name and a former TA, maybe that's what did it. They actually came in 30 minutes. And so they got the tenant up to the 14th floor. It needs to be posted or something for residents to know it's available. Stair climber. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
I just wanna go back to basics. I'm in a development that is not a senior development, but yet and still it is a senior development, if you understand what I'm saying. My question is this: when you call the call center and you get a human being, does that person identify his or herself? Is that part of the repertoire that you have for this person to say, good afternoon, my name is Mary Jane, and what can I do for you?
Yes.
Okay, that's very important, because a lot of individuals have complained that for whatever reason, as the conversation got more infilled, it seems like they forget who they're talking to. And ultimately, what happens is, in some instances, they end up hanging up, and then they forget who they spoke to, and then they have to go through the process again, and it angers them. And it's always at your peak hours that these things situate. You know, like you mentioned Mondays. All right, it has been my experience that on Fridays, about 4:15, all hell breaks loose in NYCHA developments. Things start breaking while NYCHA is ready to clock out. But this is what happens. You know, I believe they can admit to this, because this happens citywide. All right, these are the problems that exist. This is when it exists. But it's very important that if an individual in the call center is engaging with a resident, that the two of them know who each one is. It is a primary importance that takes place throughout the entire conversation. I've called myself as a resident just to I want to formalize the process. And I would have to agree with Ms. Glover that it has gotten better. It's not perfect, but it is better. And your automated systems continuously keep coming on and on and on to tell me what I already know. But I'd rather have that than not know that you don't realize what is of paramount need within the development. So I'll take the lesser of two evils. Alright, so really, and that's a blessing to you, because I've seen a lot different since you started in January.
Oh, thank you for the feedback.
Another question back here?
Yes.
Yeah, come.
Hello to everyone. My name is Jose Santiago. I'm TA president in Congress on Pitt Street in Manhattan, downtown. And thank you for this opportunity, first of all. As I serve my community, the residents where I live, this is a big issue when it comes to establishing a ticket and following through. I'm going to be brief because I'd like to take contact information and continue later because I have a lot, but I'm just going to say one thing. Many residents, it's very difficult for them to write and to finalize a ticket. They're learning how to do it. Yes, there's been some improvements, I agree with that. But many times, maybe these tickets get closed and the residents don't know why. And the work has not been done. I can point to a few hundred tickets. And it's very frustrating when there's no information, when we want to find out why the ticket was closed, and supposedly somebody knocks on the door, the resident is home, but really, the residents told me nobody knocked on my door. So really, I'm hoping to get more transparency and more coordination with the resident, because many residents do change their schedule to be home and to receive, and they're waiting, nobody really goes home. It's not gonna go. But that's one little thing. So I'll continue. I want to learn from this, and hope we can follow through later on. My name is Jose Santiago. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback.
Any other questions? Mr. Martinez.
Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. All right. Great presentation, sir, and great effort. There has been some improvements, but there was a point where we would call and someone would pick up right away. Looking at these numbers, I'm wondering what would it take, what would be the manpower needed from what we have here to get to that point of, not instant, but, immediate response. How many of the temporary staff from the 20 to 30 are NYCHA residents, and is that opportunity being promoted to them with any kind of consistency? Also, what is the turnover on those temporary employees? Meaning how often are we switching through those employees? And lastly, with the average time, do you have a max and min that produce those averages? And will an emergency option be available where somebody who does have a leak from above, or because there's certain specific emergencies that require immediate attention? Is that something that's considered? I know I gave you a whole one check one time, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
These are good comments, and I'll definitely have a review of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, any one of those? Can you answer any one of those?
So in the call center business, you need people to answer calls. The more people you have, the more calls you can answer, the quicker, but there's resource constraints all over, every department, everywhere I've ever worked, it's been a similar thing. So you try to optimize what you have, and Yeah,
that part.
so I would have to look into that, yes. Thank you.
Ms. Linda, go ahead.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Nilda, and I'm a resident in Gowanus, and so I do want to share, piggyback what one stated, that the call center has improved. For me, I prefer the app, because I am the queen of accountability. And so with the app, you put in a ticket, it actually sends you an email. And so if it gets deleted, that's fine, because I have it in my email, the ticket. So I do appreciate that. I know that when it came to, during the winter season, I attempted to put in a ticket for the heat, and I noticed that it kept giving me an error message. And so I had asked other residents to do it along with me to see if they get the same error message as well. And they also received the same error message as well. So I'm not sure if there was like a glitch in the app, but that was problematic.
So do you know when that was? You said?
And yeah, so this winter season that just passed.
And have you used it since?
No, because now we're in the summertime.
Okay, so thank you for that feedback. In preparation for this meeting, I did reach out to the IT department to see if there were any, because I heard that this question would come up. They reviewed, they didn't notice anything systemic on their side, which was good news. They said it could be a local user error, but if there was more information about the incident, to collect it and pass it on to them so they could review further. They said it's operating as it should now, and hopefully that was only a one-time glitch, and don't experience that again. But thank you for sharing.
Okay, no problem. And so is there like a number or email that I can call, so that's in case if it come across the next winter season coming out?
Yeah, call the CCC.
CCC.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then also in terms of the neighborhood planning, unit, so we dealing with different generations. We got silent generations, we got baby boomers, we got generation X, Z, Y, right? And so, when it comes to our silent and our, baby boomers, they are accustomed to doing like calls and things like that. When you get to the generation like X or, Z or so, it's totally different, right? So they're with the calls or mainly with dealing things with the app. I would like to see when it comes to, if they put in a ticket, right? I guess the maintenance worker comes in to go, to check out what the issue is, and then it has to go to neighborhood planning. I would like to see that when you have to call the neighborhood planner, that in the app, it will give them an alert that they need to call the neighborhood planner. It doesn't do that. Yeah. I think that would be, easier, yeah.
So an alert in the app.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like letting them know that that's the next step that they have to do.
Thank you.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just one more thing. Someone switched. I'm sorry.
The receptionist, God, I remember what I was gonna say. Receptionists are not, all they do is take the complaint. They send it to management office. And usually they close the ticket. That's why you get a lot of people complaining, oh no, they came, but they closed the ticket. So you would think the supervisor would be more mindful of what's going on. So I think maybe tenants need to know that when you call CCC and put a complaint in the body ticket, those people don't, even if you tell them your situation, the receptionist is not aware of it, they don't know how to fix it, all they're doing is taking the complaint.
That's correct.
And so tenants need to know that, and don't blame reception, they need to know more about that, which is where the TAs come in.
You want to be my assistant? Come with me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, you have an application. Don't laugh, but I'm dead serious. We'll talk later.
Take me
Thank
too.
you.
You saying well, okay. Oh, one more thing.
Probably after this, unless there are more questions, we will have to fire someone.
So just when it comes to the neighborhood plan, you know, and what I said, siding generation, baby boomers, and it would be nice if the maintenance workers could actually call on their behalf as far as calling the neighborhood planning. But there's some of them, you know, they don't know what like the next steps are, right? And so it would be great if they can be helpful in actually calling the neighborhood planner on their behalf, if that's fine. If they don't wanna do it, you know, figure it out. Cause with me, I help a lot of the residents in terms of any issues that they have, cause I am the queen of accountability, like I said. And so I wanna make sure, you know, that things get done. So, if, you know, we could figure out a system to help our, baby boomers and silent generation. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. Let's move on to fire safety.
Can you bring up the presentation, please?
And maybe while we wait a second for that to happen, thank you, Mr. Rita, for coming and answering questions today. Appreciating that you've just started relatively recently and understand you need some time to answer them. If we could just make sure for those where you did need that time that we can get them from Mr. Martinez and the other residents, that'd be great.
While they wait, the child tickets should be reflected in the app as well, just so that the resident can keep track of what's happening. You know, when you have the ticket and it goes down. So, and I think that, more for you guys, but we could see the activity in it. I think that would be great. Thank you, Jonathan.
All right, as we'll start as we wait for this slide presentation to come up. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Terranova. I'm the Senior Director for the Office of Fire Safety here at NYCHA. To my left and joining me is Lauren Gray, Senior Vice President for Quality Assurance, Safety, and Technical Programs. Did I get that right?
Alphabet soup, sure.
QASTP, yes. And to my right, we have Chief Jim Secreto, who is the Vice President of the Office of Safety and Security. So I was asked to come in just to give a quick presentation in regards to NYCHA's efforts to reduce the dependence on fire guards and to just to give a quick update on our public safety education efforts that we have there. So before as the slideshow kicks up, let me just see what my notes are here. So fire guard reduction efforts, and hopefully, how are we doing on the slideshow? Coming up? Okay, so fire guard reduction efforts. First off, let's do a little bit of the history. So fire guards are a mitigating factor or a way to mitigate the risk when an active fire protection system goes offline. So if there's a fire alarm system, a fire sprinkler system, a fire standpipe system that is out of service for any reason, what we do is we hire a fire guard to patrol the area and search for fire. All right? The idea is there's early detection, and then they'll immediately be able to notify emergency services, either the fire department, or the police department, or whatever the emergency is, and we can hopefully get someone there to solve the problem as soon as possible. Right? It's a mitigating risk management technique for us to do that. NYCHA had a history of utilizing fire guards at many of the locations, and I was hired on 2 years ago as the first director for the Office of Fire Safety. I'm sorry, at that time it was the Fire Safety Department. We've since changed to the Office of Fire Safety. And the goal was to have some concerted efforts to make these long-standing repairs. One of the things I'm proud to say is with the assistance of everybody at NYCHA and some third-party vendors, we've gone from a daily dependence of 162 fire guards at locations back in February of 2024. We're down to 13. That means 13 systems are currently impaired and not operational. And we're working hard every day to try to reduce that number to zero. Right? In the past, we used fire guards on a long-term basis, more than a couple of days or weeks or months at a time, as we investigated the problem, tried to finance the efforts in order to make these repairs. We've utilized some technology to help improve the ability for us to diagnose what the original problems are and then make a rapid response and rapid repair to those. So many complex problems were solved. We looked at it from a roots to the trunk of a tree, to the branches, and then to the final leaves, right? So if the roots are no good on a tree, right, the rest of the tree doesn't survive. So we try to do it from a low-hanging fruit standpoint. where we pick developments where there are the maximum number of fire guards. So for example, NYCHA uses centralized distribution of domestic and fire suppression water. So for example, in a development with say 8, 9, 10 buildings, there would be a single roof tank, right, which would then distribute water to all of those outlying buildings. If we have an underground break in one of those buildings, suddenly we have, 8, 9, 10 buildings that now require fire guards because the standpipes may be out of service. So we're gonna bring up the technology slide. I'll show you some of the things that we've done to try to locate those breaks and make immediate repairs. So we were able to, with just a couple of repairs, knock out a number of problems and then reduce the fire guards precipitously, right? So, like I said, proud to say we're down to 13 as of today. We also had a number of locations where the fire alarm systems were out of service, either antiquated or we had a few that had lightning strikes, right? Not directly to the panel, but the building was struck by lightning and then it would fry out the systems, the electronics, things like that. So we were able to quickly make those repairs or make those replacements and get those systems back up and running. We're currently in the process of doing 2 complete fire alarm panel upgrades, one in the senior building and another one in the community center, right? Trying to eliminate those fire guards. Next up, can we just bring up the slide that says technology? There we go. I've got it here. Here we go.
Working.
Perfect. So some of the things that we've done, instead of just putting a shovel into a ground blindly trying to find an underground repair, we're using some of the devices that you see here. Ultrasonic flow meters. This is an interesting one. It actually uses ultrasonic waves to determine leak rates and water flow in a pipe. It also tells us the direction that the water is flowing. So if I know I have, let's say, 7, 8, 9 buildings in a row, and there's an underground leak, I'll dig a hole, I'll uncover the pipe, I'll place this device on it, and it tells me which direction the water flow is going, right? So I know which direction I need to look for the underground leak. It helps us when we have, for example, today we're at Smith Houses. There was a 1,500-foot long pipe section where we knew we had an underground leak, but unfortunately it traversed through gardens, through a playground, underneath the sidewalk. It's very difficult when the pipe is buried at a depth of anywhere from 7 to 10 feet to try to ascertain where the actual leak is. So we dug 3 holes at 250-foot intervals, and we were able to isolate a 200-foot section of pipe. That's where we are today. We're now gonna cut it in half, and then we're gonna isolate a 100-foot section of pipe. And with just small efforts of trying to uncover the pipe and the direction of water flow and the rate of loss of water in these, we're very quickly able to ascertain and isolate where the leak is, dig the appropriate hole, and make that pipe repair. So within 2 or 3 days, we're able to ascertain or narrow down from 1,500 feet of pipe down to hopefully the last, I'm hoping by today, the last 50-foot section of pipe. And we can concentrate our efforts and try to find that break and make that repair. Now realize with NYCHA properties, the undergrounds are very congested. Most of our developments were built on top of other developments that were there, or other buildings. So every time we put a shovel in the ground, we wind up with some interferences. An old foundation, a steam pipe, a water pipe that was abandoned 70, 80, 90 years ago. So it's very important for us to be able to narrow our focus so that we can get a concentrated effort and make those repairs. So like I said, it's been very, very successful, very happy to do that. Just quickly around the thing, a couple of other things that you see there. There's a non-contact thermometer. When we have an underground pipe leak, we can measure, very simple thing, we can measure the temperature of the water in the pipe, right? And it tells us, if I have a pipe that's at 70 degrees and the room is at 70 degrees, and I have a pipe adjacent to it that's at 55 degrees, I know the pipe that's colder has active running water through it, right? Makes it simple, right? Really, really simple. And now we can trace. So when we get into our crawl spaces or into the basements, et cetera, and there's water bubbling up from underground, well, which pipe is it? Is it a steam return line? Is it a domestic water line? Is it a fire suppression line? Right? This way we can now focus our efforts, get the right trades, skilled trades there, and make those repairs quickly. Some of the other devices here, infrared cameras, similar to that, we use inspection cameras. We actually cut the pipe, snake a camera through the pipe. We can find the pipe breaks that way, but most important, there's what's called a radio sonde, a little radio transmitter on the end of that. So we can now go outside and with a radio receiver, pinpoint exactly where the pipe is in the soil. So it's not, oh, it might be over there, it might be over there. No, it's within 6 inches of this point right here. We know how to focus our attention on that. Some of the other devices there, ground penetrating radar, we use a third-party vendor to come in, and again, it helps us identify all the underground interferences. And then some of the other flow meters, again, we try to determine what the actual leak rate is, right? If I have an underground leak that's losing 100 gallons a minute, where I have to, put effort on, or I have a leak that's 5 gallons a minute, of course, I'm gonna concentrate on the bigger leak first. So we've been able to identify, triage, focus those resources, and make those repairs and get the fire yards down to only 13 today. All right. Next slide, let's talk a little bit about the fire safety education and the resident education efforts. So, you're gonna hear this from me. Next slide, please. All right, the best fire to have is the one that never occurs in the first place. All right? We could talk about fire protection systems and alarms and sprinklers and standpipes, et cetera, but it's better off to not have a fire in the first place. So we're concentrating on this public education program to help train and teach people some fire safety practices to prevent that fire from happening in the first place. So we initiated an education program back in October of 2023. I have it, thank you. October of 2023, we held our first fire safety symposium. It was attended by about 100 people. That was down at the New York City Fire Museum on Spring Street. We had great success, and the residents asked if we could have more. So last year in 2024, we took the show on the road, and we went to 6 different developments, as you see listed there. It was a collaboration not only with fire safety, but with our resident engagement folks. We had the Fire Department of New York there. It was the Bureau of Fire Investigation. They did a fantastic presentation on the dangers of lithium-ion battery devices, e-micromobility devices. We had the FDNY Education Unit. They're doing a fantastic job out there training the general public, and they did a 20-minute presentation on all of their efforts. We had our Emergency Services Division. We started talking about how to develop an emergency plan in your home, right? Not just for fire events, but for any event that may impact you, right? And of course, we had staff from the New York City Fire Museum, which provided a general overall life safety and egress presentation. Each event took about 3 hours. We served dinner, 2-hour and 15-minute presentation, and a long question and answer period. All right? We're going back out on the road again this year. I just had a conversation with Igor on Friday. We're going to be finalizing the schedule for 6 events this year. We're going to do more hands-on events this year, so it'll be a 35, 40-minute presentation on basic fire safety, and then we're breaking out into skill stations. It's going to be a hands-only CPR class offered by the FDNY education staff. We're going to be doing how to select and use a fire extinguisher, direct hands-on training, and we're also expanding the emergency services. It's called the EDITH drill, exit drill in the home, how to develop your own emergency plan. Right? And then it's also a train-the-trainer program. We hope that the resident association leadership comes, we'll give them handouts to bring back, and hopefully they can then train their own staff on how to do that, train their residents on how to do that. All right. So very successful last year. We had over 300 residents in attendance. I thought it went well. We had some really good feedback with it. And that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Last thing is we also coordinate and liaise with the fire department for the family days. Fire department has a smoke trailer. It's a 40-foot long trailer that represents an apartment, and they actually produce theatric smoke in there, and we bring folks through there. So how to escape from an actual fire event. They teach all the techniques on what to do. Feel the door before you open it. There's fire extinguishers. Crawl low, get underneath the smoke, things like that. So we coordinate with the fire department to bring their resources. They have a table. Hopefully the CPR unit's available now. Unfortunately, they're booked very early. We've requested 6 dates this year. I wish they could get to all 40 or 45 events, but they just don't have the staffing for that. All right? So, yeah, more than that. So we'll get to you. If you have a request, send it in. We've already requested this year's schedule, but hopefully if you're not included this year, we'll get you on the next year's schedule. So with that, I'm done with my presentation. Are there any questions? Anything I can help you with? Yes, Rob.
First of all, I just wanted to tell you, I was at the Bronx River schedule that you had. It was really, really very informative.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I do remember Mr. Williams being there. It was an opportunity for people to understand about what fire could do, especially with those batteries. Yeah. The sequence that you showed. And we had in Gun Hill houses a FOS inspection. We had a lot of arguments because our back doors, usually there's a rock there to keep the back door open. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And then when you closed it, then they pried it open. It's a brand new door that NYCHA put in on Wednesday, and Thursday, you can see where somebody took a crowbar and they pried it open, all right? Because people in the back want to park their cars and come in the back way. However, if Vanessa Gibson came into Gun Hill and she told them that fire that they had years ago, what was that, Southwest Tremont, that major fire, she said most people got trampled by the door, which is why a lot of people died. And people didn't understand that. And I told them that's because a lot of housing developments have what they call an egress. And you don't even know what an egress is. They could explain. You can't come in, but you can go out. And that's what it's about. And then I had to argue with people because they said they had keys to the back door. Gun Hill never had a key. Never had a key since its inception. And this is something that's very, very important, all right? Because it does save lives. And that's what I really worry about, which is why I really want you to come up to Gun Hill, just to educate the folks on reality, because this is real. You know, I don't wanna find out the hard way why it's important for you not to keep the rock. And if you wanted to keep the rock, understand the government is coming to inspect your development. At least allow them to come and go, you know, in peace before you start crowbarring doors open. But this is something that we deal with. But one more thing, I have an underground steam pipe problem in Gun Hill. So I have the smokestacks, all right? And I grabbed Mr. Greenwood at our last meeting here and brought him up to Gun Hill. So he authorized the proper overtime to get the work done, because there was a daycare center, in the middle of the daycare center now, we got a smokestack. So I'm hoping everybody promised me that as soon as the heating season was over, that they were going to entertain this problem. But this is it, as of May 31st is over. So we're hoping to kind of go down that road, but everything you talk about with the infrared and what have you, everything underground, that is something that we're trying to engage in and get out of the way in the best interest of Gun Hill. So we're gonna use every utility that you just
I'm glad you said that. I'll reach out to the heating team to see if,
Yeah.
you know, where they are with that, and I'll make sure they reach out to give you an
Yeah,
update.
everybody's been here. Javier was here. He told you about his perfection. I'm calling all
So-
hands on deck.
I just wanna make sure, I wanna bracket the expectations. So fire suppression lines are static, right? There should be zero water flow in an underground fire suppression line unless there's an active fire going on. So it's a little different when I'm trying to do diagnostics on a fire line versus a domestic water or a steam line. Everybody's using water all day long, right? And the steam lines are operational because they're making hot water in the summer, right? So there's a difference when I'm trying to diagnose a fire, an underground fire water line versus one of the other two.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. But it's very important. Very important.
All right.
You know, so thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, so in Washington Houses, 1955, I spoke to one of the supervisors. That's the steam room. That's what, and she broke it down to me. Each building, I believe, there's the water. The steam is that one room. And so what happens in Washington Houses, you would think we were in the 1300s, because in May, we had 2 water outages where we didn't have any water. We had to go to the street. Things happen, I realized that. Now the water, when it comes in, you can see the smoke coming off of it. It's so hot. There's smoke coming off of it. And when one tenant complains, like the gentleman told me, well, somebody complained the water was too hot, so you shut everybody down and there's no hot water. Folks trying to get ready to go to school, going to work, there's no hot water. So how does this happen in the 21st century? That it's not, I understand staffing is a problem and all this kind of thing here. NYCHA needs $80 billion and all those kind of things. But I'm still not clear why they can't figure this water thing out. And that's a problem. Could you do me, I don't know if this relates to what you do, they put these nodules in our apartments, they're called nodules. They supposedly gave a reading downstairs to the temperatures in our apartment. They incidentally put them too close to where the kitchen is, so if you cook and fry and shit, of course it's gonna be hot. But I never could figure that part out. So we had these nodules, if you wasn't home, you're gonna break the door in and come in anyway. Yeah. So this is washing houses, nodules put in around 2012. I want it off of my wall. If it's not serving any purpose, why was it put there to begin with? It's called a nodule, and it supposedly gives the reading downstairs to the temperature in our apartment. Thank you.
We'll research that and we'll get back to you. We'll refer it to the heating department and we'll see what we can do for you. Thanks.
Any other questions on fire safety?
Coming up for a question?
I'm not sure if this was, we'll see that. Yeah, coming right. So I heard you mention about train the trainers, right? And you stated that it will be the resident, the TA, I'm assuming board to train the residents?
Correct.
How about if your TA board is not, that's not their area of expertise in terms of training?
So what we do is we're providing very simple handouts and we're giving you all the resource links on where you can go to try to learn more about the information.
Okay.
Right? So the intent is we want you to learn something and we want you to take away something that you can bring back to your residents. Right? Little what I call 5-minute tabletop talks. You'll get a 1-page handout on, for example, the PASS system to use a fire extinguisher, right? PASS, the acronym for pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep, which are the instructions on how to use that. Or how to test your smoke alarm in your apartment. We're supposed to do that on a monthly basis. Or ground fault circuit interrupter, the little receptacles with the push button in there, right? We give them the basic information on, well, what is it there for, how does it protect, and why do we want to do that, right? And the idea is general safety topics to help prevent any loss of life down the line.
Okay, got it. And just one more question, in terms of train the trainers, can residents go and not only just the TA?
Absolutely, yeah, we open it up to
Okay.
everyone, yeah.
Oh,
So the
okay.
invitations go out, we typically have 75 people or so in attendance at these events.
Okay.
But it'll be email, so if you know any residents that need to update their emails and stuff with NYCHA, please do so, because we pull it from there to make sure that it goes there. All the resident associations, of course, and board members will get copies of that. And any other kind of emails that we have from like programs and things like that, we use all of that information to send out. And one of my staff is back there shaking his head because he's the one that actually sends it. But we want to make sure as much information, updated information we have, please make sure that you tell residents to update their emails.
Since you're here right now, I can give you mine.
Okay.
Are there any further questions? Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We'll turn to an update from Chief Secretary.
Okay. Joe, great job.
Thank you.
You left me with 2 minutes. Thank you. I just want to, that is a tremendous job. And he kind of glossed over it, I don't know if it was quick or not, but they went from 160 some odd sites where these fire guards were like a year ago to now, what was the number, Joe? 13? And, you know, mind you, this is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week post, you know, where they're responsible. So that's terrific job and a lot of money.
I'm gonna chime in on the money.
Yeah.
So far, we've saved the authority in the last year by fixing and repairing the apparatuses, $41 million. Where now we have standpipes, sprinklers, fire panels all working, and the guards are no longer needed at these sites.
Incredible, incredible. So, I'll talk about our collaboration with PD. They're down, NYPD is down 7% in NYCHA, in housing. So that's 183 crimes. I'm not gonna dare take any credit for that. But what I will say is, I think some of the things that we're doing is assisting PD in their crime reduction efforts. So, and one of the things I will start off with is homeless. That's a huge problem in NYCHA, homeless. But we do at least three operations a week. And I say, it was about 3 years ago, we signed an MOU with a memorandum of understanding with NYPD, NYCHA, and Department of Homeless Services, where we do these operations. And it started out 3 years ago, one operation a week at 10 in the morning on Thursdays. That was not effective, but it was a beginning. We now do the 3 operations, and that MOU was significant in that before that memorandum was signed, homeless services couldn't enter NYCHA buildings. So we, along with the police department, would have to bring someone that we identified as being homeless out to the sidewalk, and DHS could talk to them out there. And the significance of these operations is that we offer services. We don't just throw them out of the buildings. We offer either mental health, drug treatment, or shelter. A lot of times they don't take us up, and then they're escorted out of the building. We remove encampments, which is, they may have mattresses. One guy had a refrigerator, a nightstand. But that stuff has to be cleared out. So this year we've done 91 such operations. Last year we did 126. One of the other things we do in collaboration with PD, there's a lot of apartments that people take over, right? The person either passes away or they move, whatever, someone takes over the apartment. PD, once we give them the apartment number or whatever, they do their investigation, their due diligence, find out who belongs there, who shouldn't be there. And they've recovered 338 apartments over the 2 years that we've been doing this. And it started out in Manhattanville, where we were made aware that someone was homeless because the drug dealers had taken over his apartment and threw him out. So once we looked at that, and we saw that this was happening all over the city, we teamed up with PD. They really do the work, but we give them the apartments that we're made aware of, and they take it from there. Another thing we've been doing is Amazon lockers. All right, now that's a big thing because people were getting their packages stolen. All right, so far we've been doing that about 2 years. The 85 developments now have these lockers, over 700 lockers, and almost 600,000 packages delivered. 593, 885 is the number of packages. And we started out slow, a few hundred packages in the beginning. Now, this past May, 57,763 packages were delivered. So, that's big because people were getting their packages stolen left and right. And probably in the developments that don't have them, they're still getting the packages stolen. That Temu, they don't use Amazon. So I still hear from people that order those Temu packages, they're getting stolen because they're getting put in the lobby or in front of the doors.
Yeah, so I just wanted to interject, and thanks for that information, Chief. We also have a program, we got into 2 MOUs, one with USPS and one with Amazon. And if there's space in lobbies, we have requested that USPS put lockers in there as well. And we have those lockers at over 200 buildings in the portfolio. So we have both USPS and Amazon working with us.
Okay, one of the other things is the e-bikes and gas bikes. We've collaborated with PD to have them removed. Not that we're mean or nasty or anything, but those things are very dangerous. Those fires are very volatile. At the fire department, and I'm sure Joe, if he was still here, he would tell you. They're dangerous. So I know last year 6 people were killed in New York City with those volatile fires from e-bikes. The year before was 18. 4 were killed in NYCHA in the last 3.5 years, but none recently. And what we do is we put a note on the bike telling the owner that it has to be removed. We'll give them a couple of days to remove it, and then we're coming back, and the PD will come with us, and we'll remove the bike, and they'll have to go to the precinct to recover it with the proper paperwork, which a lot of times people don't have. But we removed over 700 bikes last year. This year, not as much, because I think people are getting the message. I have over 100, but people are getting the message. These things are dangerous. You can't have them on the 3rd floor outside the apartment, And people are calling us up, sending us photographs, listen, this is on my floor, this is in our building, and we're working to get them removed. I could go on for a long time. I'll just end with the last thing. We have an anonymous tip line. It's 212-306-7027. That's 24 hours. It's anonymous. Nobody's asking you for your name. Nobody's recording your phone number. You give us any kind of issue you want to talk about. It could be heat, it could be e-bike, whatever. And it's anonymous, and we will have a response to that issue brought up within 24 hours.
Can you repeat the number?
212-306-7027. Okay, I'm gonna stop, and if any questions.
Thank you. I know we're over time. Are there any final questions? Yes, Mr. Archer.
Thank you so much, Chief, for those updates. Now, when it comes to prevention, right, the intercoms, building entrance doors, CCTV cameras, housing policy enforcement, what are the efforts that are being pushed on that? Now, that is very relevant to the 2019 decree when we start talking about improper use of elevators or FARS inspections that, you know, these cameras can be addressing. Also, intercoms. What are the strategies in improving that? Much like how the fire systems were improved, we need an improvement on intercoms, doors, and keys.
Great question. So since 2023, my team in tech resources has been working to train field staff on how to make the repairs to the doors. Again, we're trying to reduce our reliance on vendors to come out and fix it because they have to do an inspection and then they have to go get the parts, and that takes days, and that's a risk to our residents. So Cal Bruno has been leading the charge on teaching folks on how to work with the layered access control doors, which are the more complicated doors as compared to the EML doors, to make repairs and problem solve. We just started this program maybe about 6 months ago, and we've trained several developments on how to make the repairs to the doors. As far as CCTV, the standard protocol is, we have over 20,000 cameras in our portfolio. That includes the Viper cameras from PD. Staff is supposed to check them every day. When caretakers go from roof to basement, they're supposed to walk down and make sure that there's no damage to the cameras. They're supposed to report them to the CCTV department to come fix them if there's any vandalism towards them. And property management is supposed to be checking cameras every day as well, in addition to CCTV staff who sporadically check throughout the month the various cameras. When it is brought to our attention that a possible issue has occurred at a development at a location, my team, along with the chief, check the cameras to make sure we are able to figure out and find a solution, or if we're able to catch that incident on camera. And we work constantly with both the PD and with the DA's office to provide them that footage to get criminals out of the development.
So for instances where where local management is aware of trash being thrown out of the window or excessive traffic in certain restricted or areas that are being used, what is the approach? How's the partnership happening between the Office of Safety and Security, the CCTV, and the local management with those issues?
Okay, so local management has to do, the termination of tenancy process. A lot of times it's very hard to see where garbage is being thrown because the cameras are not pointing upwards into apartment buildings, because that would be a violation of privacy. But if, it is requested for us to set up a covert camera where we can get images from the outside, not going into an apartment, we can do that. Property management can come to us and we can set that up for them. And it's their responsibility to go through the process of trying to take the resident who is causing the issue for termination of tenancy action. So if you're aware of something, you can always come to myself or Chief Secreto, and we can do a walkthrough with you. We're always happy to come out to South Jamaica, and if possible, and if there's a culprit, we're happy to work with you to try to get that image on camera.
So, and there's covert?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Which means we have it for a couple of weeks. If, his team would go and review the footage. If they're not seeing anything, we take the camera down. But yeah, we're happy to do that with any of the residents who are seeing that there might be issues.
Reach out to you this week.
Absolutely. Of course.
Any other questions?
I wonder if something can be done to eliminate the resident councils from having so much power. Because the problem is, the problem is, the resident councils are supposed to be the voice for the developments. This is a 964 regulation. I learned a lot from listening to Manny, because he sticks with the 964, the HUD, so on, so on, so, and that's what matters. So, if the tenant associations, better known now as resident councils and all this kind of stuff, if they're not doing their job, because that's a lot of the problem. The resident associations are supposed to be the voice for the developments. So it's like the police department when they say, well, we didn't know they were selling dope in 2B, nobody complained about it. Okay, you come in the building, you smell all this weed, but we don't know they're selling it in there, even though they can smell it. So it's like it doesn't exist. We're talking decades of this nonsense. So what can be done? Because a lot of residents don't want to get involved for whatever their reasoning is. I think they really don't know the value of a tenant association. So you have a lot of people getting paid that's not doing the job. So that means everybody's on welfare. Everybody on welfare. Because if you're getting $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 an hour and all this kind of craziness, and nothing is improving, that means folks are not doing their job. So you gotta call this one, you call that one, and this and that. These resident councils are not doing their job. And the first thing they'll tell you is, well, we don't get a paycheck, nobody's paying us. But you do take an oath when you're sworn in, these tenant associations. Then you have the district council presidents who are supposedly working with the resident associations, and they went from doing bank accounts, now they got cards, debits, all this kind of foolishness. Meanwhile, black people are dying like flies in NYCHA. Constant shootings in the heads, the list goes on and on and on and on. So I need to know, what can we do? Because I'm only one person. I got about 50 signatures in my book, if anyone would like to see them, for when we didn't have water twice in March, when the water was turned off. People are tired. They don't even know they have the value of being on the tenant. So they don't know it because nobody's telling them. So they don't know, because NYCHA is very slick. They have everything in black and white. Everything is in black and white. If you're not reading, if your TAs are not being vocal, this has got to stop. This cannot continue. Do you know what I've sacrificed? I have sacrificed my life. Because there was a time in NYCHA where we meant something. Management did a lot of the work. Your butt went in the grass, you got a $250 fine. We didn't need tenant associations and TPAs and RCs, and we didn't need all of that. Management did the work. So now you got this division, that division, all this kind of stuff here. Meanwhile, the rats are getting longer. They're ignorance. So we need to figure out, because I'm tired already. I'm a former president. At my development, when Bloomberg did the infill piece, yes, Manny, I'm going to speak on it again. It was because of my board in 2011. That same Mr. Williams right there came to my development, Ms. Glover, and told us about infill. That same Mr. Williams. The day it was, I said, Mr. where we going to put it? They said, oh, it's underutilized properties. Underutilized. He broke it all down to us. And with TPA money, $4,000, tenant participation activity funds, we used $4,000 of that to get a lawyer from the Urban Justice Center, and that infill was canceled. So this is what the power that residents have. Yes, maybe I missed my calling or something like that, because I know I'm a dynamic sister. We got dynamic people in NYCHA. A lot of us have missed our calling, but we can still catch up. I want to know what's going to happen with these resident councils, because this cannot continue. All this good information, all this meat, and we are just being, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
So what I would say is that we're currently working to put together a training for all residents, right? We started with resident associations so that we can kind of curse out what the information needs to be, but there will be a training that all residents can take to understand what is it a resident association is supposed to do, what are the meaning of associations, what can be done like with HUD or without the association. All those different things will be in that type of training. So everyone will be involved in that. Again, we're working internally with our training division to see how we can roll that out.
Because from what I understand, the, what do you call it? The mission statement on the tenant association's bylaws, there's a mission statement, we're independent and democratic and it's formed by the residents and all this kind of thing here, but there's nobody's, so now you're being told at NYCHA and all this, well, we can't come in there and tell these TAs what to do, but yes, you got resident civic engagement and you got all this stuff, all of these so-called liaisons and all this kind of mess that only deal with the tenant leaders. They don't deal with the regular residents. You got the mayor taking them to lunch and all this kind of thing. These leaders, the leaders. But the information is not getting back to the tenants, the poor youth, the young folk. I'm telling you, if there's a God, somebody's going to pay. New York City Housing Authority is going to pay. You don't do human beings like this. And I'm speaking for colored folks at this moment right now, because I'm tired. Kids getting smoked, shot in the head. The list goes on and on and on and on. Meanwhile, you got all these divisions and all this kind, and ain't nothing being done. I'm not gonna say nothing getting done, because I know it takes work. I know it takes work. Washington houses could be worse off than it is, even though it's really bad, but it can be worse. You can't reach the manager. You can't, the borough office, I will admit, when I call that Manhattan Borough office, they have come out with them stinking poop stations. You got 1,000 poop stations in one area, feces, and I don't blame them, those maintenance people for not wanting to clean up them poop stations. You coming from First Avenue and Fifth Avenue walking your stinking dogs, and the NYCHA workers gotta clean that filth up? I don't think so. So I don't blame them for leaving feces in the poop station for 4 months and all this kind of madness. But by me complaining and speaking on it, them poop stations were removed. Now somebody might say, you ain't got nothing else to do all day? No, I don't. Okay? I'm retired, I'm laid back, and I'm glad I'm the way I am, and I ain't gonna stop me, because I'm speaking for my people right now. We are tired, okay? Y'all already owe us reparations, whoever's listening. We're owed reparations. We built this stinking country, blood, sweat, and tears, and we are not getting what we deserve. So I can talk all day, because I'm gonna tell you something, y'all get good money for y'all jobs. Meanwhile, we ain't doing nothing but sit. We don't get no help. And I'm sick of it. I want to know how these stinking TAs and resident councils, those that are not doing their job, how the hell can we get them eliminated? And those who are doing their job, I take my hat off to you.
Ms. Logan, again, Curtis Williams will follow up. So thank you.
Mr. Martinez, did you have something to say? No, wrap up.
Yeah, just in brief, so every resident council, every bylaws has a recall procedure. So in that recall procedure, the threshold is either determined in the bylaws. This is something that NYCHA overlooks, which, I'm concerned about whatever kind of training that they have. But there's supposed to be a threshold set in the bylaws. If that threshold is set at 10% in the regulations as a minimum, it can't go lower than that. So if it's not in the bylaws, then refer to the regulations, 964-115B.
Okay, thank you everyone for participating. Our next meeting will be on Monday, October 20th, 2025. With that, we'll conclude. Thank you so much.